What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazique, aka Unique Mazique. I'm the hardest working man in sports and gaming, and I got a little bit of a drop for you. We're going to see how frequently we can keep doing this, but we're going to talk about a few things on the channel as well as a few things in the sports and gaming world. So, just give you guys a quick update. We haven't posted a video in a while. Junior and I were plugging away on Umba. I appreciate everybody who came out and supported and watched the series as it went on. We're gonna turn that back on probably for NBA 2K22. So we might do like an off-season episode to kind of show you guys where we are. But after that, we'll just transfer the roster as long as 2K allows for that to be on the next version of the game. So we'll be doing some other stuff in sports and gaming. But my plan is to come to you guys with a little bit of a piece of my mind from a sports and gaming standpoint as frequently as possible. We'll see, got some ambitious plans for it, but we'll see how that all turns out. But I want to talk today about a lot of different things that are going on in the sports world. I had to kind of narrow it down because there's so much, and it's been a while since I came to you guys to speak. But I'm going to kick it off with what I think is a serious subject. I think a lot of people are taking it like it's a game or it's a small thing or something just, oh, that was cute, or that's like almost like harmless negativity. But I think it's much more than that. And I'm talking about fan behavior at these NBA games. Um, running on the court and throwing stuff at players and that sort of thing. It's really not anything new, right? This type of thing has happened before, but just like it is with most negative things in the world, because of social media and our 24/7, 365-day coverage from a news standpoint and from an exposure standpoint, everything gets magnified. And in some instances, that magnification is a positive. In some instances, it's a negative. In some instances, it is what it is. This is particularly alarming to me because the lack of awareness, the lack of just common sense that is taking place from some of these fans is just really startling. If you take into consideration everything that is going on right now in the world, in these games, in everything, when you look at what these people are doing, it makes it just that much shameful. So we're talking about an idiot throwing a bottle at Kyrie Irving. That, if anybody follows me on Twitter and has listened to me in some previous videos and things like that, you all know I'm not a fan of Kyrie Irving. I feel like much of what he does and says is extremely contrived, and he comes from a less than genuine standpoint with a lot of things. I think he hops back and forth between trying to like stir a pot just to kind of scratch his own mischievous itches and actually doing something positive. And I think he kind of manipulates and crosses the line and mixes things a little bit too much, right? All of that said, throwing a bottle at him at a game is so ridiculously egregious, and I'm glad that that fan in Boston was arrested, and I think that's the right direction. But I still think there's more that can be done. We got a guy spitting on Trae Young at Madison Square Garden over 50 Cent's shoulder. I mean, it could have been over my shoulder, but over 50 Cent's shoulder is just, it's crazy. We got a dude running on the court in game 4 of the Wizards and 76ers playoff game or playoff series. Now, all this gentleman did was run and try to touch the backboard or whatever, but he's on the court doing stuff, obviously, someplace he's not supposed to be. And then this whole situation, this little sequence of events, all started with an idiot pouring popcorn on Russell Westbrook. Now, you guys follow me, you know sometimes I criticize Russell Westbrook. I mean, I talk about how phenomenal of an athlete he is and ridiculously talented that he is. But I also point out the fact that he doesn't like critiques about his game. He doesn't like people pointing out anything and saying, hey, yeah, as great as you are, it's only part of the territory that when you are as great as you are, Russell Westbrook, people are going to ask you about your legacy and winning championships. That's just how sports works. But all of that aside, you pour popcorn on this dude. That is, I mean, at this point, here's where we are, right? If you, as a human being, cannot understand how fortunate you are to be able to come to a sporting event still in the midst of a pandemic, even though it looks like things are getting better because the vaccine and so on and so forth, and numbers are going down across the country, even though it looks like that. But we are just like months removed from not being able to go to anything, from not being able to appreciate anything in a group and in a crowd. And in the first instances of these large gatherings, you can't even conduct yourself like a human being. You can't not throw stuff. You can't not spit on somebody. You can't not run on a court and try to touch a bag. This is what so you lack this much self-control. And obviously, I know I'm not talking to all fans. I know we're not talking about everybody, right? But there's a battery being put in the back of these people to do these sorts of things. And the only way to really deter this type of behavior is that the hammer has to start coming down hard on the people who are proving themselves to be, as Charlie Murphy would say, habitual line steppers. This is what you are. You continue to step over the line, and you're not going to stop until somebody makes an example of you. Now, the Boston Celtics, what happened with the Boston Celtics fan that threw the water bottle at Kyrie? That person got arrested. That's what should happen. But all of this, oh, he's banned from a game, or he's man, look, listen. That is not enough. And you know why that's not enough? And I'm going to tell you why it's not enough. Because if Russell Westbrook had that popcorn poured on him, if he had ran into the stands and did to this gentleman what he was physically capable of, and a lot of y'all think y'all want it with these athletes. You think you want it until this dude gets up on you and you realize how big he is, how strong he is, and that he is spending year-round conditioning himself for high-level physical activity, and you've been at home doing whatever it is you've been doing. When 6'3", 200-pound Russell Westbrook gets his hands around your throat and starts squeezing all the popcorn kernels out your mouth, you're going to realize whatever it is that you drank that gave you enough liquid courage to do what you just did, you're going to realize you really don't want it. So if Russell Westbrook gets into the stands and beats the smoke out of this dude who pours popcorn on him, the punishment that he's going to get behind that is far more severe and far more impacting to his life than, oh, this guy got his season tickets banned. So what? He can still go home and watch the team. He can still go home and watch the team if he wants to. He can still go about his day. Nobody will really know who he is. He won't be this pariah. Look at what happened with Steven Jackson and Ron Artest. So Ron Artest gets somebody, throws a bottle at him while he's laying on the scores table. We're talking about the Malice in the Palace. He goes into the stands, fights the guy, which is pretty much the type of scene that we probably would have seen if Russell Westbrook had an opportunity to get into the stands to get to this person. We would have saw the Malice in the Palace all over again. Look at how that impacted Ron Artest's career. He got suspended for most of the season. He got shipped off as a pariah. I mean, if you remember at that time, Artest was on his way to being one of the best players. He was already one. I remember I spoke to an assistant coach of the Pacers at that time. His name was Ron Oliver. I spoke to him and he said, "Man, Ron is one of the best players in the league. Like both ends of the floor, everything considered, he is one of the best players in the league. It's like nothing he really can't do." But that prime of Ron Artest, I believe, was cut short, and a lot of it stems back to what happened at the Malice of the Palace, and that just shifted his whole entire career. You never know what's going to happen when you go into those stands. Anything can happen, but I don't blame someone for getting pushed to that point. If somebody's throwing stuff at you, hit you in the, throwing popcorn on you, spit on you, bro. Come on, man. This is insane, and there needs to be some more severe penalties levied on these people. This needs to be a felony. It needs to be a felony to come on a court and have any level of physical contact with these players. So I don't care if it's got to be felony. I don't even know if felony trespassing is a thing. Somebody got to tell me that in the comment section. Is there a way to make felony for is there a certain type of trespassing that can be a felony? That's what has to happen, because people generally will respect a felony, and they're gonna weigh their options. You know, drug dealers have to weigh their options when they go out there and they still decide to do it because they figure the payoff is whatever. I don't think that you're gonna see a bunch of people willing to risk getting a felony for trespassing. Something needs to happen that the penalty for these transgressions has to be stiffer than simply talking about your season tickets or you're banned from this stadium. And even a regular common arrest. You know, I don't want anything to happen to these people that they get to put on their social media and try to make light of it and try to use that to try to gain some level of notoriety or to get some other sort of dopamine effect off of it. Everything, I'm gonna quote Usher. Everything that comes from this should be all bad. All bad. Nothing good should come from this if that's what you're doing. It's ridiculous. It's an abuse of privilege. It's an abuse of access. And to put it to the most simplest forms, you're ruining it for everybody. You're literally ruining it for everybody. You suck, and you really should stop. All right, so let's move on. I didn't want to go on too much of a rant on that, but I knew that was going to bring that out of me, because I'm telling you, man, what's going on with these people is just ridiculous. Running on the court and throwing stuff at people. I mean, how punkish are you, man? Like, for real, you know? But let's talk about the NBA playoffs. I really feel like the playoffs has been very entertaining so far. You know, just almost every series has had some level of really strong interest for me. Even the sweep, you know, definitely the Bucks sweeping Miami. Anybody knows I'm not the biggest Jimmy Butler fan, and seeing Jimmy get swept was definitely a little sweet for me, especially after the way he interacted with Karl Anthony Towns. For me, man, I'm gonna tell you, well, the one thing I don't really dig is I don't really dig bullies. And you to get in somebody's face and say, I already punked you once, that means you trying to draw back to some other time that you had some sort of physical advantage over this person or some sort of mental or emotional advantage on this person. Jimmy Butler's a fantastic player. He is. He played like trash in this series. He's a fantastic player, but yeah, it's not anybody that I'm gonna do a lot of rooting for. So that just is what that is. So that one was definitely fascinating to watch, or just entertaining to watch. But I knew that Miami was in trouble in that series after game one, when the Bucks shot 16% from three-point range in game one and still won the game in overtime. I'm like, there's no way in the world they're going to continue to shoot this poorly from three-point range. And even when they shoot this bad, they still win in overtime. I'm like, the rest of the series is going to look real bad. Miami got destroyed on the glass. Jimmy's reluctance to shoot the three or to shoot the outside shot, and just inability to make the shots, were really huge for against them this year. If you look at Jimmy, he struggled to be effective in this series because there's so many long, athletic defenders that he was running into over and over and over again. And the way for him to break out of that was to start to knock down some shots from the outside, because the bully ball thing that he generally does, driving, drawing the contact, getting up in the air, getting to the free throw line, they really practice really nice examples of verticality on defense. So if you notice, when Jimmy would drive, he's always getting the help defenders are coming over, and we're talking about long, athletic help guys. Giannis, well, Brooks is not all that athletic, but he's large and long, and he creates quite the impediment to shoot and score over. And you could tell the mantra was to not let Jimmy go to the line and live on the line, not to let him get his game going on the line. And the Bucks did a great job of that, and they just pounded them on the glass. Pretty easy series for them at that point. Denver and Portland has been really interesting. Damian Lillard has been fantastic. I definitely think this is a series where you're seeing Denver is missing Jamal Murray. They're missing the guy who can make Damian Lillard or anybody on that side of the ball work on the defensive side. So Dame is just kind of having his way. I still think Denver's a better team, and I think they win the series ultimately. But I think the Nuggets are definitely missing Jamal Murray. And the Philly and Washington, Philly's going to win this series. I think Philly wins the series even without Embiid. Embiid came down, hurt his knee. He's going to have an MRI. Hurt himself on in Game 4. So and they ended up losing that game. I don't know, man. I think Philly should be able to put it together. But one of the biggest issues, man, and I say this over and over again about the 76ers, Ben Simmons' lack of development overall for his game overall is the biggest reason, the biggest thing that's holding them back. That and Embiid's health. Embiid is having a hard time staying healthy. I think he could definitely stand to be a little bit more cognizant of him, from a conditioning standpoint. I think he's a little too heavy. I felt that for a while. He's not quite as big as he has been in previous years, but I still think he's a little too big and too heavy. I think if he were to drop about 10 pounds, 10, 15 pounds, maybe, I think he's still just as effective from a size and bulk standpoint or strength standpoint, but I think it would help him stay healthy a little bit more. He misses a lot of games. If you really just look throughout his career, he misses a lot of games. He's had his first 2 seasons and has pretty much missed games throughout every other year of his career. And now he's going down again, which he did take a pretty hard fall. And we don't know we don't know what's going to happen with them for the rest of this. Without him, this could be made into a much more interesting series than it needs to be. Can the 76ers at least get one more game? Yeah, probably. But this one could get way more interesting than needs to be. So we'll watch that one moving forward. Utah and Memphis is very, very intriguing. Ja Morant is balling. I mean, you know what I love about that dude is that guy takes on the challenge. He takes on the challenge no matter what it is. It's like, oh, really? So you're going under screens now. You're daring me to shoot the 3. I'm going to put it up, which is what you look at it with Ben Simmons, and you're like, are you that bad of a shooter at this point where you just can't even pull the trigger at all just to make people halfway respect you to just take the shot? You just can't do it. Ja Morant, the word in on Ja Morant is you got to, you make him beat you with the jump shot because he's so good off the dribble, so good at twisting his body to get in the lane. He's picked up the crab dribble, a la Chris Paul, very well. He plays the screen and roll very well. The little floaters and shots made, the in-between shots there in the lane, he's so adept at putting those down. And then he still rises up and finishes above the rim as well. He can sneak, he'll sneak you with a dunk. So he's just a very effective player in getting his guys involved, skip passes, all kinds of stuff, right? But the dude just takes the challenge. He takes the challenge. I really love what I'm seeing in that series. I think Utah is going to win because I think Donovan Mitchell just has an ability to take over games down the stretch. And I think that ultimately ends up is being the thing that pushes them ahead. I mean, they're up 3-1 now after the 7-point win last night. But just very, very impressed with what Ja Morant does for sure. The Knicks and the Hawks series, I'm going to tell you guys something. I know my man Nelson Blake is going to have something to say about this. But the Knicks, all year long, you've had a lot of Knicks fans wanting Derrick Rose to start. And nobody has to tell me about Derrick Rose love. I got so much love for Derrick Rose. It's crazy. That's my guy. That's my guy. But Derrick, with this particular team, I think we're starting to see a lot of why Tibbs didn't want to start him. He's that backbone of that second unit, and they're just when that second unit comes in and Derrick's not on the floor, they are having such a hard time being effective offensively at all. It's looking bad, and we cannot not pay attention to the fact that Julius Randle has struggled pretty mightily in this series. I mean, they're down 3-1, right? And he has only crossed 20 points in one game in this series. He shot 27% from the field. He's shooting 35% from 3, which is everything he's doing just about is well beneath what he did in the regular season, with the exception of rebounds. He's hitting over that, but he's under in every single category, shooting horribly from the field, just shooting horribly. And so we can't not point that out. We have to point that out. But I do think that, and I understand why Tibbs made the decision to put Derek, in the starting lineup, wanting to get off to a good start, just having, just having that rhythm from the beginning, But I think, like I said, I think we're starting to see why he didn't want to make this move. Elfrid Payton's been horrible, right? So I'm not saying, Elfrid Payton should be starting instead of him. It's just that you're seeing these are the problems. This is the limitation that the team has, is having more than one guy who can run the offense. Quickly at this point is a pure scorer, but I think he's a little too young to take on that role. Alec Burks could potentially do it, but they're just not getting much from it. I mean, and you look at somebody like RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett's having a bad series. He's having a bad series. He's actually had one good game this series. Now he plays pretty solid defense, and so that's definitely a thing, and you don't want to completely poo-poo that. But I mean, the dude is shooting 37.8% from the field, 27% from three. He's knocking down his free throws, but he's averaging just under 14 points a game. And they need bigger contributions from RJ Barrett and from Julius Randle. That's the only way they have a chance. At this point, I think they're cooked. They're down 3-1. I don't imagine that they'll be able to come back from this. But the long term and the big picture for the Knicks still looks very good. They have the right coach. They need some more pieces, but this series is just about over. They have no answer for Trae Young at all, and this and honestly, I'm gonna tell you something else. Bogdanovich is really giving them a problem. They don't have his size and strength. I think on both ends of the floor is giving them a little bit of a problem. Now, a really interesting series is this Phoenix Suns Lakers series. I think this whole thing hinges on the health of Anthony Davis and Chris Paul. Chris Paul is seemingly like a day-to-day guy. I gotta say this about Anthony Davis. I don't know if I have ever in my life seen a great player who is more frustrating to watch. I mean, Anthony Davis is a elite level talent. He is an elite level athlete. But have we ever seen anybody that falls down that much? I mean, Anthony Davis makes you nervous doing basic basketball movements. Anthony Davis, if he gets the ball in the post, he doesn't like to work in the post a lot, but if he gets the ball in the post and he bangs you, every contact, I'm grimacing like, is he going to throw a hip out? Something's going to, and then, he plays a game where, he's a rim protector, he's a rebounder. So there's some collisions there. It's a contact game is what he's playing. Offensive rebounds, all this different stuff he does, rolling to the basket. So there's a lot of landings. Every landing, I'm nervous. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to tell you guys this right now. We don't hear him say it, but I just got to wonder how frustrated LeBron has to be with this guy. Like, it's like he looks down and the guy makes a good play, gets a rebound, blocks a shot or something. And he looks down and he's rolling on the floor. And I know sometimes he just got to say to himself, oh my God, what is wrong with this dude now? Especially when you look at LeBron, who went through a majority of his career never getting hurt, right? He's just starting to get these little injuries now, and is at a point in his career he's supposed to be getting injured. Like, this is what happens. And LeBron invests all kinds of time and money into his body every year to preserve it. And you're looking at Anthony Davis in your mid to late 20s, and you falling on this guy's on the ground so often. Like, it's got to be frustrating. It's got to be frustrating for teammates, especially because he's so good, right? Because we saw in the bubble last year what happens if he's upright, but he's just not upright a lot. And he's got to be the most frustrating the most frustrating superstar in the league, maybe in the frustrating superstar in league history. The only way he could be more frustrating is if you have like a great player who keeps having like an off the field problem or off the court problem. That's the only way like somebody can be more frustrating than Anthony Davis. Because if I have to grimace every time you get bumped or you take some contact, you raising my stress level just watching this thing. It is. So let's talk about Brooklyn and Boston. This one's over. So we talked a little bit about the bottle throwing thing. I got to talk a little bit about Kyrie Irving stepping on the Boston Celtics logo, and then even Kevin Garnett's response. So I don't know if you guys, see this. At some point when I do these videos, I'll probably bring some of this stuff up on the screen. I'm not really prepared to do that right now. I'll do it, but I'll let you know. You can, if you haven't seen it, Kyrie Irving wipes his feet, kind of sneakily does it, wipes his feet on the Boston Celtics logo. Afterwards, Kevin Garnett, I guess Celtics legend. I use that term loosely because you got one title there. You got one title there for a franchise and won 455 million titles. So I don't know if it is what it is. So we all know there's this thing about people stepping on logos. I personally do not subscribe to that thought process. As a grown man, I am not going to get upset and take personal you stepping on a logo that I don't even own. Some other person owns that. Now, my allegiance to that logo only lasts as long as my contract. And they will make that readily clear to me if they trade me or choose not to re-sign me, even if I want to come back. So for me to take that in that way, like, oh my God, this is this big thing, and I take great pride, and you better not step on my logo, I think that's like the dumbest concept in the world. I group that all in with the same type of stupid stuff that we see with these unwritten rules in baseball, where if you flip your bat or you try to show me up, then I get to hit you in the back with a pitch the next time. That stuff, thanks to Fernando Tatis and a bunch of other guys, seems to be kind of getting pushed out of the league. But we got ridiculous cats like Tony La Russa still trying to keep it in Major League Baseball. But I group that kind of thing, don't step on my logo, in that same category. It's stupid. It is stupid. Like, George T comes and tackles T.O. because he's standing in the star. So what? So what? It's not your star. It's not. The revenue that Jerry Jones earns from owning the Dallas Cowboys, he gives you whatever is yours in your salary. And you know what? When you out of contract, George T, you don't get nothing else from Jerry Jones. But you know what? That star's still there. So how in the world are you pledging so much allegiance to this logo that don't even love you back? It's not yours, bro. Why are you fighting for stuff that's not yours? It is not yours. I don't care what nobody says. You guys can go in the comments. You can say what you want. You can say I don't understand. You can say I didn't play professional sports. I played sports before. I didn't play professionally, and it doesn't matter, because even if I did, I'd say the same thing. This is stupid. This is stupid. You don't get bent out of shape for somebody stepping on something that ain't yours. That's dumb. It's dumb. It's just ridiculous, man. And Kevin Garnett used to be my favorite player, right? But he perpetuates more ridiculous concepts than almost any other retired player you're gonna find. I mean, he says a lot of stuff that I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about, bro. I really don't, But he's got this little tough guy kind of thing that he picked up. I don't know where he picked this up from, but he picked it up someplace. But it ain't even real, because I've seen him almost in fights with Dwight Howard, and he suddenly gets some sense. But then when everybody's grabbing him, that's when he goes, wow, you didn't really want none of Dwight Howard. If y'all don't know the video I'm talking about, look it up. Dwight Howard muffs Kevin Garnett, and Kevin Garnett doesn't turn into a wild, uncontrollable beast until too many people are grabbing him and he can't get over there. But he got everybody thinking that he's whatever they think he is. Great player, fantastic player, certainly deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. But some of these concepts and things that he brings, ridiculous. It doesn't matter. The series itself is cooked. Boston did a good job getting one game. They're not beating Brooklyn. Brooklyn's got too many guys. They got 3 guys that on a given night can just go, and it ain't nothing you can do about it. you're going to lose that night because they got that hot. The Celtics got one guy who can get like that. He got like that in the one game that they won. And if he ain't like that 3 more times, they have no chance to win. And even if he is like that 3 more times, the chances of 1 or 2 or maybe all 3 of the guys in Brooklyn cooking that same way is pretty slim. The Celtics are popped. They got a really horrible first round draw. They're not going to win. Brooklyn's going to win the series. They're going to move on. The last series is that I'm going to talk about is the Clippers and Dallas. Dallas had a chance to win this series. I think is over. I think that when they had a chance to go up 3-0, and then when they had a chance to go up 3-1 in games 3 and 4, that was the time that they had to really jump on a wounded Clippers team. This Clippers team has regrouped. Paul George is playing like Paul George. Kawhi Leonard is playing like Kawhi Leonard. Overall, defensively, they have locked down. I mean, they held Dallas to 81 points. They have locked down defensively. And what people aren't talking about, people are singing Luka's praises a lot, and he deserves most of them. The dude is just ridiculously great. But this free throw shooting, bro, I have no idea what is going on with dude. He's having like a Chuck Knobloch moment or something from the free throw line. It is getting ridiculous in how poorly. Do you guys realize that in this series, Luka Doncic is shooting 34.9% from the free throw line? What is going on? Like, he's shooting better from 3-point range than he is from free throw. He's shooting 38% from the from 3-point range, and 34.9% from the free throw line, 48% from the field, which is a little up for him at this point. He's averaging 33 in a game. He is 33 points, 8 rebounds, 8.3 assists. But the free throw shooting, especially considering how often he goes, he's shooting 8 free throws a game. This is a problem. And it's hard to pick at a guy who's averaging 33, 8, and 8. It is. And you really not got to look at Porzingis, too, because Porzingis is just a shell of himself at this point. But I'm telling you, man, if it in the first 2 games of the series, the free throw shooting wasn't as much of an issue. But something's wrong. Like, something's wrong. Like, in the first 2 games in the wins, he was bad. He was 6 for 14. But the last 2 games, he's 7 of 18. He missed all 5 of his free throws in the blowout loss in game 4. Something's got to change. I don't know what it is, but Luka's got to find something. I don't know if he needs to go and go into some sort of quiet time or something to regain his. I mean, this is bad, y'all. This is not anything to just sweep under the rug and say, oh, it'll be okay. He'll get it together. The dude shot 73% from the free throw line in the regular season. What is going on right now in the postseason where he's dropped down to making 34.9% of his free throws? I don't know, but something's got to give. And he's also turning the ball over almost 5 times a game, which is a lot. So he has dropped in a few very key areas that are kind of all about winning. So we got to watch that, man. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think the Clippers are going to win this series at this point. I think they're going to run off. It wouldn't surprise me if the Clippers win the next 2 games. It really wouldn't, and they just win this series 4-2. It would not shock me at all. All right, let's switch gears a little bit. Well, a lot of it. We're going to talk football. Julio Jones. Everybody's talking about Julio Jones. Now, while I'm doing this video, I'm actually checking because today's June 1st, and today would be like the first day that the Falcons would execute, I should say, a trade for Julio Jones. They would not have traded him before June 1st because the financial benefits that they would get from moving him wouldn't be effective until June 1st. They'd actually have lost money if they'd have traded him before now. So today is the first day that would have happened. I don't know if it's going to happen today, but I do expect for him to be traded before the end of this week. Where is he going to go? So I think there's 3 teams that I think we hear the most. I think it's the San Francisco 49ers because they got over $20 million in cap space, and Kyle Shanahan was his offensive coordinator. There's the Tennessee Titans, who their players have been openly recruiting him on Twitter. A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry have both been doing it. And then there's the New England Patriots. And for you, those of you who don't know, I cover the Patriots for Heavy.com pretty much 24/7. And for obvious reasons, for me, that's where I would prefer to see him go. I mean, I would love to see Cam Newton get that extra weapon. I already think the Patriots are set up to be a much better team offensively than they were last year. Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar. You got an offensive line with Trent Brown, Isaiah Wynn, Shaq Mason, Michael Onwenu, and then you have David Andrews in the middle. So and the running game should be solid as well. Damian Harris. You bring back James White. I think everything is in place for Cam Newton to have a much improved season. Not to mention the fact that he'll have a full off season this time to grasp the playbook. He won't have to deal with a positive COVID test, and to have all of that thrown at to throw him off. And he has more weapons. So all signs point to him having a better season. I know a lot of people are trying to talk Mac Jones up into being the starter, but I think that's a premature thing. Mac Jones is a rookie and 15th pick overall and the 5th quarterback taken in the draft. Pump the brakes on that. There's no reason to play him before you need to. And I don't think that he's going to beat Cam Newton out. I hear everybody saying, and I know they're going crazy about what they see in the OTAs. Oh, Mac Jones has been accurate. He's been as advertised in no pads and shorts, as advertised with no defense out there that is creating the impediment, as advertised with no opposing defensive coordinator game planning for everything that you don't do well. It's very early to be talking about that. We're talking about a guy in Cam Newton who is a proven leader. Guys will run through the wall for him. He has more weapons. You didn't give him any weapons last year. Now, if Cam comes out and plays horribly this season, the first 2 or 3 weeks, then it is what it is. You might have to make a different. You might have to make a change. But it would be ridiculous, in my opinion, unless he just looks like hot trash through training camp. And keep this in mind. You hear a lot of people talking about how bad Cam Newton was last year. I always take it with a grain of salt whenever anybody's talking about a quarterback. Usually quarterbacks are not as bad as somebody says, and they're usually not as good as people say. The truth is usually somewhere in the middle. Cam Newton did not have a fantastic 2020, but he was not as bad as most people would tell you. And I'm telling you this from somebody who watched literally every snap from Patriots football last year. Did he have some bad throws? Yes, but he had some fantastic throws too that most people are not even, they never talk about. So I am not one of those that Cam Newton can lead a successful offense, especially with the weapons that he has around him this year, and especially with having a whole training camp. Now, you throw in Julio Jones as a possibility. I think that Julio Jones to the Patriots literally turns them into a Super Bowl level team. I think you can talk about the Patriots possibly winning a 7th Super Bowl championship if Julio Jones comes onto that team. It's to me, offensively, they would have one of the most balanced offenses in the league. You can run 12 personnel with 1 wide receiver and the 2 tight ends. You can run so many different looks, and it's all anchored by this big, nasty offensive line that projects to be one of the top offensive lines in the league. And oh, by the way, you have a mobile quarterback for which you can draw up different types of things there. How good is the Patriots going to be in the red zone with the Cam Newton threat, 2 tight ends, and Julio Jones? How good is that in the red zone? And then you still got a power running game with Damian Harris as well. I'm telling you guys, if Julio Jones goes to the Patriots, it's going to be something pretty serious. It's going to be something pretty serious. Now, him in San Francisco looks pretty good too. I mean, you got Deebo Samuels, you got George Kittle, you'd have and Julio. They have some weapons as well. And fantastic, offensive play mind. But the key there is the health of Jimmy Garoppolo. Does Garoppolo stay healthy? And then Trey Lance would be coming in at one point? Is he coming in? So it's a similar setup to the Patriots, but I think that I trust Cam Newton more than I trust Jimmy Garoppolo, simply from the standpoint of I trust Cam Newton to stay healthy more than I trust Jimmy Garoppolo to stay healthy. And I trust Cam Newton as a leader more than I trust Jimmy Garoppolo as a leader. And I know that Julio knows Cam. They came in the same draft. The 2011 draft was sick. I think that they have a decent connection that could be made into an even better connection if they were on the same team. That's where I would love to see him go. And if it happens, the Patriots are going to be a serious team to contend with. My last thing is about the Bears and Justin Fields. Oh my goodness! As a Bears fan, I'm born and raised in Chicago. Um, Having Justin Fields on this team is one of the most exciting things that I can remember in a long time. Just period. Just as far as a Bears fan, this is just insane to have this level of hope about the franchise. The Bears have never really ever had a great quarterback, and now we're at the beginning of what could be a run with having a truly great quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And I don't even know what that feels like. I don't even know what that feels like. I have no, I don't even know what it feels like. I really don't. And I'm excited to see what it feels like. Now, the question is, should he start? Right? Should he start from the beginning? And as much as I love Justin Fields, and as much as can't wait for the whole thing to get going, I'm not sure that I would start him in game one. I'm just not sure. And the reason why is a lot. It's a lot of things, right? So you signed a veteran in Andy Dalton, and I don't love Andy Dalton, so let's not get that twisted. But I don't hate him like everybody else does. I know he's not a long term, solution at quarterback. Nick Foles is on the team. I don't know what that is about. I mean, he has a horrible contract. It's hard to move him. But I do believe the Jets have some interest because they're looking for a veteran mentor for Zach Wilson. They wanted to get Brian Hoyer, but he decided to come back to the Patriots to kind of play the same role for Mac Jones. So I know the Jets are looking for that. Maybe Nick Foles fits that role, and you kind of clear that up a little bit there. But I know they're trying to kind of like insulate Justin Fields. They want to put around him veteran guys to help bring him along, which I think is a smart thing to do. I think part of that insulation, though, is not running him out there earlier than you need to. Just look at the Bears' week 1 game. So you're going to throw Justin Fields out there in his first regular season game, prime time, on the road, in Los Angeles, against Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, and the Los Angeles Rams. And oh, by the way, you might be doing it with 2 rookie tackles because Tevin Jenkins is going to start, right? And I love Tevin Jenkins, the most violent man in college football. I love him. Awesome. Just love that guy, right? But who's starting at the other tackle? The other rookie, Larry Borum, or are we sliding? Is Jermaine Ifedi starting? Whoever. It ain't nothing that I feel super confident about from a pass protection standpoint, at least not yet. Especially not to be putting my rookie quarterback out there in his first game, prime time, against a defense that figures to be fantastic again, with 2 of the best players at their positions on that unit in Donald and Ramsey. I just don't know that. I mean, at some point, yes, I want to be able to line Justin Fields up against a team like that, against matchups like that, and say we're going to win because we got Justin Fields. But is it time to do that in week 1? In week 1, is it time to do that? I don't know, man. He's going to have I'm telling you, a lights out training camp in preseason for me to even consider that. I'm more comfortable, honestly, with week 4. And and all you do is you just hope the Bears aren't 0-3 at that time. If they can find a way to win 2 of the first 3 games, and the Bears, the schedule doesn't start off easy for them. They start off with the Rams, which is obviously not an easy game because Matt Stafford's the quarterback now, who I think is a little bit of an upgrade from Jared Goff. And they got the Bengals after that. I don't know what that's going to be. Joe Burrow's back from his reconstructed knee. I don't know what exactly that looks like with the Bengals this coming season. But then you got the Browns in Cleveland. We know that that's a tough deal. And we got Myles Garrett coming off the edge. You got Denzel Ward. You got these guys. And then they got a potent offense. I think week 4 at home against the Detroit Lions, Jared Goff's the quarterback there. They should have like a new attitude. They got a new coach, new front office, and they're moving in the right direction. But I still think the Lions are probably the last place team in the NFC North. And I like that to be Justin Fields' first start. I don't know if Matt Nagy and everybody can hold off the fan base for 3 weeks. I don't know because it's going to be hard and it's going to be heavy. I mean, Justin Fields has. You guys realize I heard this on Chicago Sports Radio this morning. Top five sold jerseys in the NFL so far this year. It's Tim Tebow with the Jacksonville Jaguars, but the three different Justin Fields jerseys are right there in the top five. So the navy one, the orange one, and then the white one. Chicago is Justin Fields crazy right now. I'm just telling you. And it's going to come even harder as this season starts, as preseason gets going. Can they hold them off? I think week 4 is the sweet spot. This is a marathon. This is not a sprint, right? We don't need Justin Fields to win this race out the blocks. I need him to win it for the long term. And I think that week 4 is the sweet spot. Starts off against the Lions. Next week, they're on the road against the Raiders. Then you come home at the Packers. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers will still be there. Next week, you go on the road against Brady and the Bucks. Come home against the 49ers. So he's going to get it. He's going to get it at some point. But this, to me, seems the best spot for you to kind of indoctrinate him into what's going on. So we'll see what happens. I spent a little bit more time today talking than I expected, but I appreciate you guys watching, as always. God bless. Don't forget to leave me a subscription, man, and leave a like as well, or subscribe and leave a like. I really want to, I've held on to this channel for so long. I want it to be successful. Consistency has been a thing going up and down, but hopefully we can kind of get a handle on that. Let's see whether or not, we can do something. Because honestly, what's going to end up happening if this channel feels like it's buried in the algorithm and I can't get it really going back again, I'm probably just going to have to reinvent it and just start over again. I won't ever get rid of this channel, but, the majority of the content will probably go on a new channel as I try to kind of restart things. So I just hope you guys can help me out with that. It would mean a lot. I appreciate you as always. God bless and peace.